Good evening and welcome to Portland, Oregon, here for one of the last few stops of the NextGen tour. I'm Mario O'Brien, and the bus over the past few days has traveled 2,000 miles or more from Minneapolis to take on a Rhino squad that's seen a lot of turnover since 2012. Rhino's captains this year, there left of your screen, Adrian King, Timmy Purston, and Chris Hancock will be leading this squad. But gone are the faces of those you might recognize from Rhino over the past few years. No Matt Malius, no Tad Jensen, no Riley Minershagen, no Seth Wiggins. So the Rhino boys turning over a new leaf here for 2013, and they're running into a buzzsaw in NextGen. They're feeling hot. They're feeling good. Team has really been coming together in the past few weeks, and look to see big things out of that guy, Will Driscoll, coming off his best game of the tour against Sub-Zero. He's going to look to keep that intensity up tonight. This is Laurie bringing it down to Hancock. Horizontal stack from Rhino. Purston all the way underneath to catch the first pass. Hancock. Nice IO underneath to Carter Thalen. He's going to boost this one up. That's Morrissey providing pressure against Will Shaw. And you can see the wind really affecting that throw. It is quite windy here. It's a north to south wind that's left to right across your screen, as Dylan's going to pick up for the bus. Dylan flips to Scion. Now Dylan. Nice air bounce IO backhand to Jay Clark. Clark flips one to Morrissey. Patience so far for the bus. Now Clark. Clark out of options, high stall count. Gets it back from Dylan in a power position. He's going to rip. This one floating. Driscoll, the intended receiver, and just can't make the grab. Driscoll bidding big as Clark started that throw off a little bit. IO, Purston giving chase and not quite able to bring it in. So King will pick up. Adrian King, veteran Rhino player. This is his 7th year as a Rhino. Looks off the first cut. Now he's going to blade one over the top, and Meyer not able to come up with it. Nice shutdown defense from the bus. Now Morrissey getting it going. And Scion can't maintain control. You could see him checking his feet to try to stay in bounds on that. And the wind certainly playing a huge role so far. This is going to be Hancock putting wood up for his Oregon State teammate Timmy Purston. And Elliot Erickson in the area knocks this one away. So Neal looking at a vert stack. Force backhand from Rhino. Finds Dylan. Pick call downfield. Dylan swings to Clark. Now Dylan flips over the top for Morrissey. Every yard's going to be tough going upwind as the bus is now. Dylan this time looks off the IO forehand. Huck instead throwing and going, and Jay Clark pops one up, and Hancock's going to come down with it. Now Hancock trying to go the other way with Thalen. Now King's going to put one up deep. He's got Purston all alone in the end zone, and Rhino will hit the board first. Going downwind, they chose to play field position, and this time it paid off.
Rhino 1, NextGen 0.
Adrian King, also known as the Bruce, did a nice job of hanging that one up there just long enough that Neal couldn't catch up, and Purston settled under it nicely. Look for Purston to be that primary deep cutter all evening. So Rhino gets on the board first. Tonight they're sporting a non-traditional green for them. More of a lime green as opposed to the forest or Kelly green that they've had in the past few years. So the bus brings it down. Montague in the middle. Isolating Freechild first. Going to dump this one back to Mickle. Looks like junk from Rhino. Allison Hall flips up to Kocher. Kocher, this is his first game out of the last 4 that he's played. Went down with a hamstring injury against Boston. Now Freechild. Bit of a mess downfield as he flips one to Mickle. Jannon off the front of the stack. Hits Montague. Kocher again. Kocher's going to break the mark and throw the forehand all the way across the field, and Sean Parker for Rhino provides the pressure as Freechild can't bring it in. So now Rhino will have a shot at it going upwind. Topher Davis, recent Oregon Ego grad, to pick up for Rhino. NextGen's showing a forehand force. The wind really picking up here. Kocher marking. Freechild pressuring. That reset forces a tight throw to Van Arsdale. Kelly Van Arsdale played at Lewis and Clark. Played with Rhino a couple years ago, now back. Now Penner. Penner received that pass from Carter Thalen. Carter playing out of Tufts University, just finished up his sophomore year. And this is going to be Rafi Hayes sending one up deep to the giant Sean Parker, who bests Mickle. So Sean Parker, all 6'6" of him, gives Rhino the first break of the game and a 2-0 lead here early. And normally that's a disc that Mickle's going to be able to come from the backside and get up over a defender, but not this time against Parker. So Rhino gets the first break, and NextGen calls their first time out of the first half. You can see a beautiful evening here in Portland, and we'll be back after a commercial. And welcome back to Portland. Beautiful evening here as Rhino has gone up 2-0, getting an early break, forcing NextGen to call their first time out. That's Topher Davis talking to the D-line. Standing next to Hancock, Laurie, Will Shaw, Penner, Woodside, and Russell Mayhew out of Reed College. So Davis waits to pull. Davis also played for Rhino back in 2010 and is now back. And he'll have to take a big role for Rhino this year if they're going to continue building on the success they had last year. So Montague brings it down. Horizontal stack. Montague with the low IO backhand to Freechild. Freechild to Jannon. Mickle now. Couple of nice poaches there from Rhino, not allowing the bus to punch it in. And now Montague gets horizontal, and he's going to break the mark to Hahn for the bus's first goal of the game. So great patience and some accurate throws from NextGen gets them on the board. Spectacular plays by Simon Montague. So now the bus's D-line comes back out. Seen a couple of different looks so far tonight from the bus. A couple looks out of horizontal and a couple out of vertical. In a windy game, a lot of times teams like to go vertical so that they can have both lanes to swing to and gain yards. A lot of times when you play horizontal, defensively, if you can clog the middle of that field or pin the offensive team to a sideline, you can have an advantage and limit those options. But at the same time, if you're playing vertical and the stack gets too deep, those deep cuts really stop being viable. So this time, Rhino will take it. Huge blade pull by Jay Clark. It's going to force Laurie to bring this one up to his own goal line. Looks like a forehand force from the bus. Elliot Erickson on the mark. Purston isolated in the lane, but looked off. Now Hancock in his own end zone. Nice pressure from the bus. Hancock's going to break to save it. Fallon marked by Clark. Again, trouble dumping the disc. Nice pressure from the bus downfield. Leads to a turnover in the backfield, and now the bus will have a chance for a short goal. This will be Dylan picking up. Scion looks to be setting up as his reset. And Tim Morrissey is going to start out isolated against Meyer. Dylan looks off Morrissey. Swings to Clark, but Clark can't hang on. You can see these discs elevating just a bit at the last second, making it really tough to catch as King picks up. And Clark comes through and steals one from Thalen and is going to flip this one to Dylan for the goal. So an easy one for the bus after a couple of miscues on the throws. Gives the bus a downwind goal and a 2-2 tie. I'd be very surprised if this game didn't end up being more of an upwind, downwind contest. So now we're even. The bus will try to break upwind. And in games like this, the score often is not as important as getting that upwind goal. So if you see the end of a game like this, you might see a separation of 4 or 6 points. It's really not that one team lost by 4 or 6. It's that they lost by a couple of upwind goals, because that downwind goal is usually easier to accomplish. The upwind goal is a rare gem. So Mickle will look to pull. Mickle, Neal, Kearns, Montague, Hahn, Jannon coming down as Davis fumbles the pull. Now Purston with Hahn marking. Purston in trouble. Flips a lefty to Hancock. Hancock finds Van Arsdale, and Van Arsdale floats it to space. And Montague, the opportunistic defensive play, now Freechild to Mickle. Purston with a huge bid against Hahn. And Jannon can't hang on. Hancock's going to pick it up. Purston is isolated deep against Hahn. Hancock looks it off and chooses to swing. Laurie beats his man up line. Laurie to Van Arsdale. Rhino really working the disc well up the open side as Meyer flips it around to Thalen. And Thalen floats this one too far in front of Davis. So Montague picks up side stack from the bust. Hahn beat his man there, but got looked off, and now we see another turnover. Hancock with the disc. Van Arsdale. Laurie underneath. Laurie had a streaking Davis deep. Looked him off. Rhino playing small ball. Van Arsdale is going to float one for Purston, but Freechild pursues it deep. And I don't think that's actually a bad look there from Van Arsdale. A couple of short turnovers from Rhino has given the bus a short field, and you don't want to give them too many opportunities with only 40 yards to go. Want to make them go the full 70 here in an upwind, downwind situation. So Freechild now marked by Purston. Purston, a big mark on Montague. Montague's going to float this one up. Mickles back there. And this one drops out of the sky in a weird way, and Mickle can't read it, and neither can Thalen. You saw it just bounce over both of their hands at the last second. So Davis picks up for Rhino. Pick in the middle of the stack as Laurie found space. Ben Laurie, one of the bright stars here for Rhino, made the U23 team. They'll be leaving tomorrow along with a lot of the NextGen players for a training camp that starts on Sunday and wraps up just before the start of the tournament in Toronto. And that tournament will go on for the week following training camp. So it's a week of training camp in Toronto and then a week of the tournament. These guys will be disappointed with anything but gold in Toronto as Van Arsdale catches one underneath, and he's going to fire deep to Purston. This one hanging, and Purston tries to toe the line, but just out of bounds. Nice play there by Purston. But Freechild, I think, knew that this one had drifted beyond the back end zone line and let Timmy just try to make a play. Unfortunately, a bit deep. So here we see that horizontal stack from NextGen. Jannon flips to Mickle. Mickle breaks to Aaron Hahn. Hahn to Freechild. And Mickle trying to squeeze one through to Montague and can't quite connect. So a sloppy game from both teams so far this evening has given both teams with a number of opportunities per possession. So we talked about the bus and its travels over the past 3 days. Made their way all the way from Minneapolis. It was quite the trip, over 40 hours of driving. Of course, if you know the bus, it only hits a max speed of about 59 miles per hour. The guys really came together. Pretty sure they polished off about 9 episodes of season 1 of the OC. Huge drama. And a big letdown at the end of that OC season. Left a lot of these guys on the bus, maybe thinking about season 2 or thinking that they spent a little too much time watching a show that they never knew much about. But regardless, it really brought the team together. That, among other things, lots of fun stops, lots of craziness. And here we are in Portland. This will be Davis to pick up. Kearns marking with Hancock at his first reset. We take a look at an angled vert stack. A lot of times you're going to send that handler just to blow up line and try to clear to someone else or just go with the dump swing as Davis gets it off the line to Laurie. Laurie with an around swing to Van Arsdale. Finds Meyer underneath. Meyer really had a breakout season last year for Rhino. Kind of stayed under the radar to a lot of those other club teams and had himself a nice little season. Now Hancock moving nicely up to Thalen. Davis now. Davis is going to float one to the back of the end zone. And Carter Thalen brings it down over Freechild. Dylan's not going to be happy about that one. Both Aaron Hahn and Freechild in the area as fellow South Eugene Axeman Carter Thalen, the youngest Axeman on the field, brings down the third goal of the game for Rhino. Taking a look at this Rhino D-line. A lot of young guys out there. Far side of your screen, that's Will Shaw out of Lewis and Clark. Rafi Hayes. A 19-year-old, played some college ultimate at Portland State. Also played here in Portland, high school. Now that's Hayes marking Montague. Montague flips to Clark. This is that downwind goal. It's a must score for NextGen. And here they are playing small ball. Lots of easy passes. Kocher, the around to Sion. Backhand force from Rhino. Sion, nice IO break to Morrissey. And Morrissey tries the outside in forehand, and that's just not a throw that's going to work in conditions like these. If you're playing in the wind, you want to keep everything flat. A lot of times that means when you release the disc, you're actually putting some IO on the disc. If you try to put any type of outside in on any throw, it's going to do just what that throw did. It's just going to turn into a blade. So whether you're throwing upwind or downwind, putting a little IO on that disc is going to serve you well. Going to give it a little more hang time. And generally, you just shouldn't be trying to curve the disc. Your end result should just be a flat pass, because when you're trying to curve the disc, you're trying to put a little more edge on it, and the wind is going to get a hold of it. Nice maneuvering downfield by Clark, and Clark's going to shoot deep to Morrissey. Morrissey bids big, but can't bring it down. Penner in the area. So really nice throw there by Clark. Nice control. There you see he let it go just a bit IO, and it sits in that back left part of the end zone, but Morrissey not quite fast enough to track it down. So now King, marked by Driscoll. Will Shaw finds space up line. More continuation on the open side. And Clark comes in to knock this one away. Now Montague. Montague with a big throw up to Camden. Allison Hall. Allison Hall trapped. Finds Clark, and Clark will find Chris Kocher. Welcome back, Kocher. He's back, giving NextGen their third goal of the game, and they hold on their downwind point. Fun atmosphere tonight here in Portland. Of course, many Oregon natives on the NextGen team. There's one, Freechild, Aaron Hahn, Jacob Janin, Camden Allison Hall, all Eugene natives. 3 of those guys play at the U of O, and of course, if Jacob Janin played for Whitman. And not only those guys, but then the NextGen crew, many of them Eugene natives, Eugene faithful, representing the crew. Hancock, another Oregon native, brings it down for Rhino. Dumps to Shaw. Shaw back to Hancock. Hancock's going to rip this one deep for Purston. And there we see this one has a little too much blade on it, and not even the speedy Purston can track it down. Saw a horizontal look there from Rhino. Going to open up those deep lanes a little more, but that doesn't mean that the deep throws get any easier. And now the bus comes out, horizontal. Eli Kearns, marked by Davis. Neal starting the movement. Clearing space for Freechild underneath. Freechild to Hahn. Hahn on the sideline, marked by Purston. And Aaron Neal finds lots of space underneath. He's going to break this one to Elliot Erickson. Erickson marked by Meyer. And it's like, excuse me, that's not Meyer, that's Shaw. Hahn flips to Freechild. Freechild, Io break to Neal. Neal to Freechild, around to Hahn. Kearns comes loose underneath, beating Davis. The bus really working nicely up this end of the field, finding lots of yards underneath. Freechild with an air bounce backhand out to Dillon, now unmarked. Dillon swings to Hahn. And nice end zone patience from the bus gives them an upwind goal, and that's their second break of the game and their second upwind goal. Rhino not able to contain the bus from getting those underneaths as well as those break passes. Freechild really instrumental in weaving that one into the goal. Nice dump swing. In this case, the dump swing, the threat of the dump swing gives Rhino trouble on the open side, and that's why you employ that tactic. A lot of times if you can consistently dump swing the disc, you'll have the defense start to overplay. And then you throw a quick fake like Hahn did, and you're going to find room on the open side. Nice job of reading the defender by Aaron Neal. Gives NextGen an upwind score. You can see Montague talking to the team, elected captain by his teammates, along with Mickle and Jannon. All three of those guys, NextGen veterans. Mickle, a member of NextGen 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0. Jannon, just the second and third time around, and Montague took a break last summer, but now he's back for his second NextGen campaign here on the NextGen 3.0 voyage. This will be the last NextGen game for a few of our bus members here tonight. Number 14, Morrissey. Number 9, Erickson, Mickle, and Kearns will all be leaving the squad tonight as they'll be attending Worlds in Toronto. That's the U23 Worlds. So the bus might be picking up a few subs in the upcoming games. So King is going to take this one on his goal line, marked by Jannon. Now looking to reset to Laurie. Laurie looks off a swing pass to his Lewis and Clark former teammate Van Arsdale. Now Laurie. Nice lefty backhand to King. King's going to rip one deep. Van Arsdale in the area. Van Arsdale bids just to make sure, but catches it. Back to Laurie. Laurie to Meyer just outside the end zone, and Penner secures Rhino's equalizing upwind goal. Brian Penner out of the University of Oregon brings one down for Rhino, and that's the strategy that it takes sometimes. King not hesitating to shoot one deep. Van Arsdale brings it in. And Rhino gets their upwinder back. Nice job hanging tough by the Portland squad. Taking a look at the last couple years, in 2011, it's a tough one for Rhino. They fell to NextGen by a large margin. I played in that game, and I didn't play in that game. I was injured for it, but I remember watching it, and it was a very frustrating game to watch. Not a lot of chemistry between the Rhino squad on that night. Of course, last year, Rhino won it in a thriller. And here, Rhino hanging tough in the first half, 4-4, as Montague finds Hahn. Now Kearns on the open side. Nice little flip from Kearns. Montague throwing and going. And here you're seeing that skill set of the bus. Just too much to handle for the Rhino defense. As we see our third offensive hold in a row. Just the second hold in a row, but it's the third upwind goal in a row. So 5-4 NextGen. Nice bit of handiwork between Montague, Kearns, and finally Hahn to punch that one in. Hahn, a couple assists tonight. Small ball playing right into the hands of this NextGen team. So Mickle throws a bladey outside in backhand. King receives and centers to Laurie. It's not Ben Laurie's natural position to be that center handler. But as we said, with a lot of guys for Rhino retiring or moving on, some players are going to step into some new roles. Here we see Jeremy Meyer in his normal role, just catching gainers underneath. So a pick downfield between Clark and Thalen is going to send the disc back to Meyer. Vert stack here from Rhino. Van Arsdale at the top of the stack. King at the dump. And once again, Thalen finds space underneath. Swim move up the line from King. He's able to hold on to it. Now looks to swing, and Topher swim moves. He's going to look backside for Purston, who has space. 5-5. It's a nice bit of upline cutting from Rhino. So after a sloppy start to the game, last 3 0 points have been a clean slate. No turnovers. Great upline cutting from both King and Davis to gain those positive yards on the open side, and that's really about the easiest pass you can throw. A lot of times when you're playing in a wind like this, you have to put so much juice on that forehand that sometimes it'll come out hot, making it a really tough catch for someone cutting underneath. So those upline passes, a lot of times you can put that little bit of touch on it that allows them to float. And usually with the trailing defender, not too difficult of a catch to make. So the bus will now try to get another upwinder as Kocher receives and flips back to Montague. More junk from Rhino. And Montague throws in to a poach. And Will Shaw, bit of a miscommunication with Hancock, gives it right back. Montague on his own goal line to Kocher. Nice cut by Allison Hall. Getting yards underneath. Now Kearns. Montague swims up line. Nice little flip backhand. That is a really difficult throw there that we've been seeing from the bus. It's the forehand side, but sometimes if you can reach forward, get your backhand grip out there and just put that IO backhand, it'll just sit right in front of the receiver. Now Montague. And another swim move from Janin is going to give him a goal up line despite the bidding Penner. So we've seen it time and time again on these last 2 points, just that fake around cut to the swim move up the line, releasing the pressure. Both teams not getting disciplined on that up line defense and giving up yardage. So we see our 5th point in a row scored on this upwind side. Neither team finding a remedy for those upline cuts. So we'll see if the bus can make an adjustment here. Seems like a simple solve just on that one little area of handler defense. Give up that big around swing because it really is a difficult pass over there on that far sideline. Going from that forehand grip, turning to your dump and throwing that around backhand. It's a really, really difficult throw. Freechild floats one deep into the end zone. And Thalen can't hang on. Is going to give Freechild the disc on his goal line. And room to operate. Freechild flips to Kocher. Freechild wants this one. Gets it back from Kocher. And finds Scion. Middle of the end zone. Another easy one for the bus. So here, NextGen. Don't know if they've completed too many passes over 10 yards, but it's being effective here for them in these last few points. 7-5 NextGen. Rhino looking to regroup. Credit goes to Freechild as well on that one for sending that huge floaty pull, allowing NextGen's defense to set, forcing a tough pass out of their own end zone, and Thalen wasn't able to hang on. So the NextGen D-line. Scion, Driscoll, Neal, Clark, Morrissey, Dillon, and Freechild. This one's going to drift over the head of King. Adrian King, we mentioned, a long-time Rhino vet, this time having to step into a more vocal leadership role for this Rhino squad. Finds Thalen underneath to Meyer. Meyer flips to King. Van Arsdale casually underneath to Topher Davis. Now Purston. Purston flips a lefty. King. The classic step through foul call. Aaron Neal hasn't seen that one. Now King sits on his forehand and now flips one to Van Arsdale. Wind starting to pick up. Back to Van Arsdale, and Meyer finds space underneath. Jeremy Meyer so good at timing those cuts to gain yards. Now Van Arsdale, he's a tough mark, really long. The 6'5" Van Arsdale flips to Davis. Vert stack out of the end zone. Davis squeezes one to King, and King flips it to the far side for Purston. Timmy Purston, the MLU Stags star, is one of the league leaders for the Portland squad, catches this one from his ex-roommate. So Purston brings brings Rhino back within one. I mentioned the Stags. That's the professional ultimate team here in Portland. A lot of these Rhino guys played for the Stags this year. Laurie, Purston, Hancock, King, and of course, Rafi Hayes. So here we'll see Hancock stepping to the D-line for Rhino. He'll rip a pull. Mr. Friction Gloves. Another captain here for Rhino as the bus centers to Montague. And now Jannon. Jannon, another flip to Allison Hall. But a miscommunication on the throw. Now Shaw with the disc for Rhino going the other way. This could be a big upwind break for Rhino. Hancock finds Shaw. Shaw swings again as Woodside makes the catch, but that one's going to be ruled down by the observer, and NextGen immediately going other way. Montague has Camden Allison Hall on his own end zone. He's got Kearns wide open on the far side, but doesn't see him. Swings to Hahn. Hahn finds the wide open Kearns, so a missed opportunity for Rhino leads to another goal for the bus going the other way. Great job by Montague, immediately boosting it the other way. And NextGen takes half. So after a sloppy start to this one, both teams reel it in. We saw some clean offensive play from both sides. And now a missed opportunity for Rhino leads to NextGen's halftime lead of 8-6. We'll be back in just a minute for the second half. Good evening and welcome back to Portland. The bus took half. Rhino's going to come out looking for an early break, but they'll have to do this first one going upwind. That was Topher Davis ripping one out of bounds. And now Montague looking at a vert stack from the bus. Allison Hall finds space underneath, marked by Laurie. Back to Mickle. Mickle flips it over the top to Kocher. Now Kocher's going to bend one. Tough throw by Kocher. But Aaron Neal reads it beautifully. And Aaron Neal breaks character a bit and spikes his hat. I remember talking to Neal early in the tour. I said, Aaron Neal, why don't you ever spike it? And he said, I don't do that. I was brought up not to do that. But here it looks like the bus mentality has infiltrated the Kiwi as Neal shows some emotion. And now the bus up 9-6. Will look to create a gap between themselves and Rhino with another upwind break. Again, wind left to right across your screen. Hasn't been as much of an upwind, downwind game as we thought it might be, with both teams able to score a number of times upwind. Freechild with the pull, and that one went all the way, all 40 yards from left to right, and sailed out of bounds. Hancock will take it at midfield. Dillon poached in the lane, but Hancock with a nice break to Thalen as Jay Clark, SWAT team, knocks it down. Hahn. Nice footwork on the break side by Erickson. Erickson's going to flip this one over the top. Sion not able to come up with it, but Clark. Now Freechild. Freechild against his Oregon teammate, Penner. Clark looking for Freechild, but Penner locks him up. High stall count. Dillon. Now Dillon's going to float up a big outside in backhand, and there we see the adjustment by Rhino, forcing that tough throw. Now Laurie. Laurie stays patient. It's a great holster by Laurie to not let that one go, as Jay Clark gets the body position on Thalen and then throws a vicious backhand fake that hits Thalen in the ribs. Don't know who's calling foul here, but the observer upholds the foul call. Now Clark. Clark looking for Hahn underneath. Hahn pursued by Jeremy Meyer. Nice find to Trent Dillon. Jay Clark. Excellent work with the throws tonight. Erickson to Freechild. Dillon blows up line. Big swing to Hahn, but loses 10 yards. And now Hahn back to teammate Freechild, and Hahn can't hold on. Nice adjustment here by Rhino, forcing the bus to throw tough around throws and losing yards. Now Hancock tried to break to Penner. Freechild shut it down. Clark, another big bet on Thalen, but can't get this one. Erickson lays out against Ben Laurie, and it looks like Erickson's finger may have got stepped on. Both Erickson and Laurie will be heading to Toronto tomorrow morning. Laurie will be playing for the Open U23 team. Elliot Erickson for the mixed team. Both he and Eli Kearns will be playing for the mixed team. Of course, Eli Kearns has a little bit more experience playing mixed. Played for Polar Bears the last couple years. Laurie with the nice around throw to Thalen, and now to Meyer. Meyer flips over the top to Hancock. Hancock, dangerous break throws from this position, marked by Freechild. Clark trying to hunt down another one against Thalen. Now Hancock throwing and going. That great defense here by Freechild to stop those tricky cuts. Hancock really hard to guard when he gets in motion. Now Clark on the mark, and the bus defense holds. Rhino not able to punch it in here, as great pressure from Clark and Freechild force a tough throw by Thalen. Now Freechild on the cone, marked by Hancock. Flat mark from Hancock. Hahn underneath. Swings to Trent Dillon. Now Clark. Another swim move by Dillon. And now Dillon's going to fire a huge forehand upwind. Person giving chase. And this one actually is going to go out the back of the end zone as Driscoll tries to stop himself. and takes a bit of a tumble. Hope he's all right. So Driscoll looks to be taking a sub, favoring that left foot just a bit. Huge throw by Trent Dillon. That's the most power we've seen behind a forehand going that way all evening. So Driscoll will sit down. Also, while we have a minute, want to send some thoughts out to the East Coast tonight. The MLU championship game is going on. A couple great Ultimate Community members went down tonight. Both Jeff Graham and Will Neff had some pretty tough injuries tonight, and want to send our thoughts out to them. So Purston looks far side for Meyer, but Penner saves one. Now Penner's got Laurie going up the far side. Laurie finds Hancock, and Hancock's going to flip to the far side. Beautiful hammer from Chris Hankey, Mr. Christian Gloves. Hancock delivers to Thalen. And you're going to get one or two plays per game when you're playing in this wind where you're just a bit luckier than the other team. And that time, an error on the throw by Purston and some heads-up play by Penner creates a goal. And now we see Kevin Minderhout firing up the crowd, throwing discs into the air. Dangerous up here in the crowd. Not so dangerous on that one. Says he's throwing it to the loudest part of the crowd. I'm open, Kevin, up top. So Topher Davis rips the pole for Rhino. Minderhout got the Portland crowd fired up and now sitting back down. Montague takes the center. Horizontal stack. Nice break throw to Janin. And NextGen making quick work of this Rhino defense. Morrissey makes the play and the kick spike and the punch spike from Janin. The combo move from NextGen. Max points. Credit goes to Montague for immediately solving that poach look from Rhino. Montague with that quick IO forehand got the momentum going downfield, and Tim Morrissey finished it off. (10-7) NextGen. Free Child waiting to pull. The NextGen D-line, Mickle, Scion, Neal, Kearns, Clark, Free Child, and Dillon. Mostly man this evening from NextGen. Here we see another man look. Laurie, marked by Neal, takes a 7-yard reset loss to King. Another loss to Hancock. Hancock flips one up. Neal makes the bid, but Laurie secures it for Rhino. Now Purston resets to King. Another bid from Clark. Clark and Thalen. Been a fun matchup to watch. And this time, Hancock doesn't run through, and Mitch Scion gets a block and is going to give NextGen a chance for a short field goal. Mickle's going to pick up. Mickle taps it in, resets to Freechild. Freechild swings to Clark. Forehand mark from Rhino. Now Mickle. Miscommunication on the switch. Leaves him alone. And Neal finds space up line, beating Laurie, and Aaron Neal drops a perfect crossfield hammer as Jake Clark trying to wind up a spike and spikes it. Beautiful work from Aaron Neal, first beating his man and then with the perfect crosswind hammer. Aaron Neal's really proven himself a great thrower in upwind situations. We've seen him a number of times on the tour able to cut through, especially with his forehand. (11-7), the bus gets an upwind break, and that time Rhino playing a bit too much small ball, especially going downwind. You want to choose your spots, and if you're going to make it tough on this NextGen team, you got to make them go the full 70. Janin pulls this one. And this one's going to roll out of bounds, so a creative and directional pull from Janin's going to give Rhino the disc on the cone in what we call the coffin corner, corner of death. So hard to throw out of here. We see a side stack from Rhino. Davis with the disc. He's going to reset to Hancock. Now deep in his own end zone. And Hancock looking for Meyer. Throws it away. And Driscoll looks to be okay from his injury. Tries to flip a scuba over the top for Morrissey. Can't connect. Now Davis going the other way. Marked by Kocher. Space underneath for Rhino. And we see two Rhino defenders, two Rhino offensive players get a bit lucky that the NextGen players missed their bids. Janin immediately picks it up. He's got a wide open Camden Allison Hall, but Hancock is there, times it well. Allison Hall, a bit of a sitting duck. Couldn't time that one. A lot of times just sitting underneath the disc isn't the best place to read it, but I don't know if Allison Hall had much of a choice. But I like that risk from Janin. That quick strike is going to make Rhino go the full 70. And now Hancock, vert stack. Hancock had the break lane open, but Davis was sitting in his around break lane. Hancock really deadly on his break throws, both on the inside and the around, but when your other offensive player is sitting in that break lane, the around option isn't there. Scion marking. Allison Hall, back of the stack, marking up on Kelly Van Arsdale. Hancock squares to his dump. Great lockdown D by Kocher. He's going to force a tough throw over the top. Now Van Arsdale. Nice IO break. And now we see an IO forehand. A beautiful throw by Sean Parker, and Penner is going to call foul here. Pressured from the backside by Jacob Janin. Beautiful throw by Parker. One of the best IO forehands we've seen all evening going up that way. Really tough to put touch on it and at the same time get it up over a defender and sit it down, but Parker executed beautifully. Penner's going to call foul. Here we see Morrissey and Penner talking it over. Penner had the advantage, both NextGen defenders coming from behind. So Penner did make first contact with the disc, wasn't able to hold on. And the observers will rule that there was no foul on the play. Penner's going to wish he had that one back, especially because that one would have been an upwinder. But now NextGen will have another shot going downwind. Kearns picks up. Vertstack. Backhand force from Rhino. Nice set play to give Driscoll a ton of yards underneath. Driscoll finds Erickson underneath. Erickson dumps to Scion. Around to Allison Hall. Kearns. Kearns, nice IO backhand to Allison Hall, who now floats to Driscoll. Great continuation offense on the dump swing from the bus. Driscoll's going to float this one out, and Kearns going to track it down. Kearns finds Morrissey on the open side, and Elliott Erickson beats his man, lays out, and another goal for the bus. 12-7 now, as the spirit of Aaron Bell with us here tonight in Portland is driving NextGen to a runaway. We're going to go to commercial. We'll be back, see if Rhino can horn their way back into it. They're down 12-7. Welcome back to Portland. The bus rolling to a 12-7 lead. Lots of the bus members getting involved. Jay Clark's been everywhere. Bids all day. Aaron Neal slicing and dicing, throwing hammers over the top and spiking. Saw Elliott Erickson with a big layout grab. And Montague has been breaking the mark at will to give them this lead. Rhino found the rhythm early, but here in the second half haven't been able to get it going. So side stack. Topher Davis gives to Purston. Purston marked by Hahn. And now Thalen bobbles one. And Montague is going to tell Jimmy Mickle to slow it down and swing. Now Dillon. NextGen looking very comfortable here in the second half. The pressure is off. Nice poach there from Topher Davis, but Trent Dillon reads it beautifully. And Simon Montague, whoops-a-daisies, turfs it. Now King floats one up to Hancock, who goes up over Trent Dillon. Nice play by Hancock, nothing going on downfield. And now Hancock's going to rip this one deep, taking a chance. Simon Montague back there and gets just enough of it to keep it out of Ben Laurie's hands. So we mentioned before some of the players that you're not seeing here tonight for Rhino. Some of them have moved on. That would be Malius, Minershagen, Jensen, Wiggins. But the other big name players for Rhino are playing on this NextGen squad. Guys like Jacob Jannon, Freechild, Camden Allison Hall. Those guys will all be suiting up with Rhino for the club season. Trent Dillon's going to rip one deep. Purston giving chase. And Timmy Purston slides in safely. I like that rip by Trent Dillon. It was a nice opportunity to strike deep going upwind. Now Davis will take it on this near side corner. Free Child shuts down the reset. Davis looking to the stack. No options, and he has to slice one across the field to King. King has Purston. Purston resets to his Oregon State alumnus, Hancock. And Hancock to King and over to Purston. So the 3 Rhino veterans working it well. Kearns to Freechild after the miscue. Freechild waiting for an easy one. Aaron Hahn back to Montague. Wow. Nice throw by Montague. Leaves an easy one for Mickle. NextGen making it look easy. Rhino struggling here in the second half. So Rhino will switch it up as we wind down near what could be the end of the game. Rhino bringing in a different look. Adrian King, the Bruce, will still be leading the way. We'll be out there with Van Arsdale, Parker, Penner, Shaw, Hayes, and Mayhew. Look to see some handling skills from Mayhew and Shaw, probably with King in the backfield. Van Arsdale and Parker, the primary cutters. So 13-7, the bus has strung together a number of breaks here in the second half. In their farewell game for 4 of their teammates who have to go play at Junior Worlds, that's U23s in Toronto. King moves it up to Shaw. Shaw to Van Arsdale out of the stack. Van Arsdale is going to rip immediately. This is Rafi Hayes, the intended receiver. Will Driscoll coming from behind. And Morrissey on the front side of the sandwich. It's going to leave Rafi Hayes hungry. Now Scion flips it over the top. And Jake Clark has been everywhere tonight. Now Allison Hall flips back to Clark. And Driscoll gets free underneath. Driscoll's going to fire one deep. This one settling. But a little too much heat from the big chill, Will Driscoll. Scion not able to reel it in. Still quite windy here in Portland on a beautiful evening. 70 degrees. Gonna feel nice in the sun, but once you're in the shadows, you're gonna want long pants and long sleeves. King now trying to get out of trouble, finds Shaw. King again. Nice shutdown defense in the lane by Allison Hall. And a beautiful I.O. forehand from Shaw. Finds Van Arsdale and now Parker. Parker marked by Driscoll to Penner on the sideline. Penner's going to put one up for Parker. Parker against Driscoll. And Parker with the heads-up play. Now finds King just outside the end zone. King's going to fire over the top to Van Arsdale with an acrobatic leap. Van Arsdale, glad to see him getting up cleanly. He's had some tough injuries in the last couple years. Just finally happy about getting healthy. Talking to him before the game. Glad to see him back in a Rhino uniform. Has Clark. Clark's going to rip one deep. Allison Hall running it down. Penner giving chase, and Allison Hall catches it on the goal line. Erickson trailing the play with Morrissey. And Erickson is going to catch the goal. Beautiful throw by Clark. And Rhino leaves another one on the doorstep, as now they are doubled up 14-7. The Bus running away with it. As I mentioned, this will be the last game with 4 of their teammates. Mickle, Morrissey, Kearns, Erickson all will be leaving after tonight's game to go join Team USA and try to bring home a gold for the U.S. The NextGen D-line. Mickle, Montague, Neal, Kearns, Freechild, Hahn, Trent Dillon. The Bus has really spread it around tonight. Everybody doing their part. Here we see Hancock trying to squirrel open off of the pole. Now Meyer finds Topher Davis. And now Purston, the intended receiver. This one's floating, and Purston over the top of his head. Explodes a spike off his midsection for their 8th goal of the game. Beautiful outside in forehand. Gave Purston all the time in the world. Defender had no play. So the NextGen offense, we'll see if they can close with this one out. Something that they've actually had a tough time doing over the past few games. They've left a number of O-line game points on the table. And going into the final stretch, the last 2 games, I think this is a point that they're going to take easily. We also wouldn't be surprised to see them throw a huck early in the point. See if they can let loose Freechild in front of the home fans. Dylan Freechild's lovely dog, Eva, also in attendance tonight. And here we see it, Montague flipping to Freechild. Mickle cutting deep. Freechild's going to bomb it. And Jimmy Mickle, despite a gigantic bid by Kelly Van Arsdale, celebrates in the end zone. What better way to end his NextGen career than with a goal from his great friend, great teammate, Dylan Freechild. Freechild and Mickle connecting for the final goal here in Portland. NextGen takes it home 15-8. Special thanks to our observers. Thanks to our sponsors, Patagonia, Discraft, and of course, the one and only FrictionGloves.com. Thank you to everyone in the booth, and especially our camera operators, Adam Bilbaino, the Bill Baby, and of course, the mastermind behind the camera, Ian Lunger, Vin Bowie, Kimber Coles on the 1s and 2s. Kevin Minderhout runs the whole show. I'm Mario O'Brien. Thank you, Portland. It's good to be back in the Northwest. We'll see you in a couple days in Vancouver and Seattle.